Hey there, Kenneth French of Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. We're very, very happy you stopped by. Either you're going to watch this or listen to this because you want to take your business to the next level. You're probably an entrepreneur who's either just starting out or you've been around for quite a while and you want to take your business to the next level. You're probably a real estate investor, maybe even a real estate agent, maybe a professional or of some sort, professional advisor of some sort. And well, you are stopping by because you need some valuable advice from one of the top industry leaders there is. Anyway, thank you very much. Once again, Kenneth French, Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. Really glad you stopped by.
Simone, the marketing guy, is going to make sure that we all have really big businesses. He's going to take us from tiny Google to big Google. What's up, Anthony?
How you doing? I love the
Doing
intro.
well, doing well. Let's get right to it. Add value. Give me one thing as a small business owner that you can do that can add value to me so I become big Google.
Well, the whole Google thing is not it's not really about Google. It's about
I was just saying that, using them as a proxy for a big company. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So, for me it's all about relationships. So one of the things I always start with is like how are you running your marketing? And because marketing is kind of like a general term, right? And marketing, there's so many marketers out in the world, so many agencies, so many this and that. I'm more about just like, what are you doing now? Where's their opportunity, and then figuring out ways to make those opportunities bring revenue and profit to the bottom line. Because there's just a million different things you can do, and oftentimes, Kenner, there's so much opportunity within your existing business that you don't necessarily need to spend any more money to add any more shiny objects. We can just find some high leverage points and take those and turn them into bottom line profits.
Dude, I like that. So what you're saying is you don't have to go over the shiny penny over here. You already have a shiny nickel here. Concentrate on the nickel here. Concentrate on your own business. Oh, dude,
Yeah.
we're getting somewhere. We're really getting somewhere. So first, now tell us a little bit about yourself. We're going to be here for a half an hour hanging out. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why actually we should be listening to you, by the way.
Well, I mean, as far as why you should listen to me, I mean, my wife always, I'm a dad jokes kind of guy. So like, she says I'm my own biggest fan, and
Yeah.
so a lot of people don't listen to me, but it's those that do, I have, I'm not like this guru or anything like that. I've just been around the block a few times, and I've lots of trial and error, had businesses that failed, businesses that succeeded, and I just implement whatever it is we do that we find that works. And so I've been in and around marketing, online, offline, building my own businesses, helping others build their business for 17 years now. So you can imagine during that sort of a time frame, especially when you think about like technology and the internet and all that kind of stuff, and it's like kind of like dog years, right? So you take that number times it by 7, and that's kind of like, I guess, where I've been blessed to have wisdom at that level. And it's always changing. So I'm never like, hey, this is the one thing that's always going to be the thing to do. It changes so much. I'm very humble in that way because nothing ever stays the same except for the foundational principles of business, which is, again, like I said earlier, relationships. It's all about relationships. So even if something doesn't work out, you never want your prospect or client to walk away and say, I have no clue what I got out of that. Like, that is my worst nightmare. Like, I am always trying to find, how do we point? How can we point to things that show that things are happening? Because we live in a world now, and I don't want to get too deep into this because I'm not bad mouthing anybody. I think everybody has to start somewhere, but we live in a world where it's really easy to learn to go market. It's really easy to learn to go sell. But I think the problem that we have is now we have a bunch of marketers and salespeople, but sometimes we fall short on delivery, right?
Yeah, totally. You bring up some really good points. I know you say you're not a guru. I know you are. You refer to me as a guru. So I know you're being humble, right? So wait a minute, let's back up. Let's unpeel that a little bit. So I really like what you say that, why go after a dollar over there? Because it's probably here in our own business. I don't understand why so many people spend so much money on marketing when they already have a business, and it's cheaper to spend money right here on your own business, market to your existing clients. But I'm not sure if that's what you meant. But to me, that goes a long way with me versus going out spending a bunch of money on Facebook. Although that makes sense also, but there's people are walking over dollars that they already have that they can easily pick up. So go into that a little bit more, because I think our listeners, by the way, our viewers and listeners, they're small business owners. We have internally, we do tax and finance and artificial intelligence. We have 12,000 people in our database. We're merging with a law firm. They do estate planning and asset protection. All of our clients are real estate investors mainly. And solopreneurs or entrepreneurs. So what would you suggest based on what you already said, that can help our listeners and viewers, not walk over those dollars that they have right in front of us?
Yeah. So one of the areas that it's been, so let's just talk about email, for example. So email marketing, email communication, whatever you want to call it, it has, for many of us, we've been doing it for, decades, right? And it's now gotten to a point where it's a little bit more difficult because there's different regulatory bodies that are stepping in, and they're trying to get rid of more of the spammy type of stuff, which I think is good. And things always change, but I think that a lot of people, they look at email and they're doing some of it, but they're not really taking it as seriously as they could be or should be.
Yeah,
And what I mean by that is, out of all the people that we talk to, I would say probably maybe around 10% actually know what the ROI is that comes from their email efforts. So everything is kind of just bundled in with everything else. But what is it you're getting out of your email? Because you can, the markets are, they go in cycles, right? And so when the economy is good, ad prices aren't so bad. But when the economy is bad, ad prices kind of go up, because now, take, for example, an election year or whenever, wherever you're at, holiday, for example, ad prices go up, right? It's very rare that ad prices go down and, or go lower than they have historically. They're always going up, right? They're always ratcheting up. So when you think about that, so the cost of acquiring a customer is higher. So you're spending more money on ads. You still have your operation expenses, still have all this other stuff going on. You got to pay for personnel, whatever. Your email list can be an asset, but I think a lot of people don't treat it like an asset. And I know a lot of people don't, because when we look into their system, we see where they're missing the opportunity. And that's kind of what I was referring to earlier is, one of the things we do is we do an email audit, and we'll look at an email, an ecosystem, and see what they have, because either A, they're not getting delivered as well as they could be. There could be a spam issue they don't even know about. Like we just had a couple of people that within our mastermind that we referred to us, and they just couldn't figure out what the problem was. And so we've figured it out, and it's going to be fixed. But it's like, it's so hard sometimes to figure out where the problem is unless you really know where to look and how to peel back the layers of the onion to find it. But it's so worth finding it, because if you think about, like, every person on your list represents somebody you can either make an impact on positively in their life, and or make generate revenue on, and hopefully both. I mean, hopefully you're one that actually believes in, hey, I want to deliver a positive impact and make money doing it. But nonetheless, so many people are missing so much opportunity, and they don't even know it. And so now we're getting ready to put a presentation together for our mastermind based on this stuff, because it's such a big problem, and it probably will continue to be a big problem as we move forward with, just doing business as usual.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so I'll give you a picture of two guys. One guy who, let's just say he has 10,000 people in his database to whom he's emailing, and he's really, really massaging that. He writes really good emails, good subject lines, good, succinct, fun emails, but short. And then over here, you have let's just say it's a guy. You have a guy who's got similar 10,000 people in his database, and he's not tracking them. He's not working with them. He's not emailing them. And if he does email them, it might be, let's say, once a month. Long subject lines, long emails. Basically, they suck. Which company would you rather, let's say, buy, as an example, right? Person A or person B? I've never understood it why. Well, I'm actually going to rip on myself for a minute. I've never understood why people don't take care of their database, specifically their emails, because would you rather go out and spend mass money on a new lead when these people who are opening your emails, assuming you have a good open rate, they care about you. They're probably going to, it doesn't take as much and as long of a sales cycle because they've seen your emails, etc. I don't understand why people don't spend more time on their existing database than they do going after other dollars. I've never understood that.
Well, it's just it's easier, right? You could throw more money in the front end, but the way that we operate, we come in, we're looking for win-win all the time, and so we have to kind of deliver that kind of news and say, okay, well, you've got this going on here, you're missing this over here, but here's where you could be doing, and the truth of the matter is that if they could just optimize what they've got right now, they could actually spend more money on the front end, right? Because now it's like, yeah, throw more money at it, but let's dial in what you have, because what we find out on the back end actually is data you can use on the front end to help you optimize better. So now you're going to get more of the right kind of folks, and you're going to convert a lot better, and you're just going to have a more profitable business overall, which leads to a business that you can sell for a higher amount.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah.
To your point.
That's exactly right. There was just a study done by, I'm sure you know the study, it's some marketing guru group or whatever, and they said email ROI is 1 to 40 now. It used to be 1 to 47. But I mean, that just shows, wouldn't you rather spend $1 and get $40? I mean, that's a killer rate of return versus over here spending whatever, $1 and getting 20, or I don't know what it would be in this example, but I mean, it totally makes sense. What's funny? I say that, and here's where I'm ripping on myself. Years ago, we got a little inundated. We didn't send out enough emails, and and I'm embarrassed to say that. And I saw, a decline in our business. Versus the one thing we're good at is email marketing. We suck at social. I hate to say this again. I'm ripping on myself. We're just not good at social media marketing. We are a little dry. But I know our open rate right now, it's 52%. It's as a blended rate. That's unbelievable because we are marketing to our own existing database. People have to open our emails because we do tax and finance. They just have to, right? But what I would say though is, I mean, it makes no sense for us to spend in general more dollars on other stuff versus taking care of our own database. I feel that's the one thing I feel really good about because I know our rate of return is going to be so much better.
Yeah, well, I think you need both really if you want to scale. Like, because at some point, right? Because it's like so even at 52%, like there's a lot more people out there, and so in order to get more people more eyeballs on your stuff, you do have to bring more people in. But if you're ignoring the people, if you're not optimizing what you have, then you're leaving a lot on the table. I mean, just a ton. And it's like I said, it's an area that's going to be way more important as we move forward. And it's just really great to be able to go in and help people figure out what that stuff is and how to improve it. Because at the end of the day, like I said, I hate the whole like go spend a whole bunch of money and then not have anything to point to. The typical like model where you pay a marketer to do something and you're like, well, what happened? I don't know what happened. We never want that to be the case. So
I totally agree with you. I like what you have said. By the way, how does someone get a hold of you if they're interested in learning about your firm, learning about you, or email marketing, or whatever the case is?
Yeah, they could shoot me an email at anthony@anthonysimoni.com.
How do we spell that? That's remember, I'm not very smart. I need help on that. How do we spell that?
So Anthony is just ANTHONY.
Mm-hmm.
At Anthony Simoni is SIMONIE. So if you're watching this right now, you can see the way my last name is spelled there on the screen.com. So Anthony at AnthonySimoni.com.
Yep. This will go out as a podcast and also as a vastcast. People will see it as a webinar. People will see it and on social media again. Oh, but because you're on it, it's going to be a killer social media post, right?
So well, I mean, it's like there's so much we could talk about. It's email is so vital. We part of what we do is, it's like when people have things dialed in, they also have nobody closes 100% of their business, right? So if you've got a sales team, if you've got acquisitions, investor relations people, nobody ever gets 100% of people to convert. And so we also, part of what we do is we go in on the back end once somebody's been through an entire sales acquisition process, and we have another process that we kind of bolt onto the back end. We go out and convert more of those people into sales, and then we're just paid on the upside. So it's a performance based model, and it's a really great option for certain people that have certain criteria in place. And one of those things is, hey, are you building rapport and do you have affinity with your audience? And if you don't have your email stuff dialed in at least a little bit, then that's not really a fit, because you've got to start there. You've got to have people know, like, and trust you a little bit and have that affinity.
Wait a minute. You said performance-based marketing. What's that mean? Help me with that again.
So what that means is, like, we're kind of known as the found money guys. And so that's why I said when we come into a business and we look for opportunity, we're looking for, those high leverage points where you come in and make a big difference. And then rather than charging these massive retainers, we invest in the process. So we put our resources, our capital and stuff in place to what we do is we run a test. We always start with a test. And if that test goes well, we continue on. But during that test, we figure out, we view it first. The first step is if you look at it, and if it looks like it makes sense, then we propose to invest in a test. And if that test goes well, then we continue on from there. And it's more like a partner model versus like I charge you a high retainer. We hope that something comes out of it, and we'll just see what happens. This is more of a, hey, it looks like you've got certain things in place that make sense. I'm willing to come in and invest in in our process to put it in place. And if it works, then we agree to a split that makes sense on the performance. So we're not just guessing here. We're actually looking at results.
Dude, that's a big deal. So again, I'm not the smartest guy. So what you're saying is, let's say I'm a real estate agent. We have well over 2,000 real estate agents. Let's just say I'm a real estate agent. I'm making $1 million. We have big ones. Let's just say I'm making $500,000. I think what I heard you say is, if I can hire your firm, you and your firm, you would come in to do, I guess, kind of an audit. And then basically with me not having to write a check or whatever, like people write checks nowadays, a wire, whatever. And then we would then kind of partner. And let's just say you took me from, I don't know, 500,000 to $1 million. We kind of partner that way. You get part of that dough. Help me to understand that a little bit.
That's right. So it would be on the growth of what is directly attributable to our efforts, and all that is created in such a way to where there's no guesswork. It's like, you can point to it.
Dude, that's really smart. I mean, whoa, hold on. So you got to say no to a lot of people, though, right?
We do, but we say no a lot more than we say yes.
Yeah, I get it. So yeah, I get it. It's like a lawyer taking a retainer or comp deal out of 40%, 30%. I get it. Wow, dude, I like that.
Well, now it's not like, and also just to be clear, it's not like when we get on like if we hopped on a call with somebody and we're kind of exploring the opportunity to see if it makes sense and if it's going to be a win-win, we never say, hey, you're just not good enough for us. It's like, hey, we've noticed these things, so you might do this, this, and this, and this would get you closer to where we might be able to, do something together. But we never let somebody walk away thinking that they wasted their time. We always give them some sort of plan to help them, even if we don't end up ever partnering in the future. So it's all about, kind of serving the audience, delivering and leading with value. That way, I can't tell you how many times people have had that experience. They never became a client or a partner, but they send other people our way just because of the, we treat them in a very cool, not, they don't have high pressure or anything like that. We treat them in that way, and it just always comes back to us.
Am I that naive? Because I've only heard of that a few times, and that was years ago. I haven't heard of that many people doing performance-based, consultation, which is what you guys are doing from the sounds of it.
Yeah, and it just varies. Sometimes we do them for sometimes we'll do audits for free. Sometimes there'll be a fee involved, but it's a nominal fee. It's not like we're not making money off of that. It's really about just, um, really looking at and evaluating the situation. And, the whole fact of the matter is that the reason why you don't see it a lot is because it takes some pretty big kahunas and a lot of guts to put put that on the line, because it costs money to do these things. And so if you're going to a relationship and you're not 100% sure, pretty darn close that it's going to work, then or it might work for one person but not the other, and that none of that ever works out well long term.
Mm-hmm.
If one person wins, the other person loses. I don't care if it's like the person delivering the service or the person that's using the service. It has to be win-win. It just has to be.
Yeah, I'm impressed, because that means you think you're studly enough to bet on yourself in that regard. You're not saying, here, give me $50,000. I'll go buy a bunch of ads for you, and then you get a percentage of it or whatever. What you're saying is, here, we're really partnering with your business because we believe, if you accept them, we really believe that, we could succeed based on a lot of what you are doing, and then also what the client is doing in that case, because they're delivering hopefully on whatever legal work or whatever the case is.
Right. Exactly. It has to be win-win. And I mean, I'm at the age now where I realize that there's only so many hours in a day, right? Only so many days in a week, and energy levels are important, and what you spend your energy on is also important. So for me, I just want to be involved in those kinds of dynamic, types of partnerships. I don't want any part of the, typical, somebody gives me a bunch of money and now they're like calling me at all hours of the day, like, where's this? Where's that? I want it to be a true kind of, hey, we're doing our part. You guys are doing your part, and we're making things happen.
Because you're the marketing arm, and you're kind of, you're basically the marketing arm. So you don't probably have to get quite as in depth as someone who's doing some of the underpinnings of some of the consultation. I get it. Wow. Okay. I dig that. I think some of our listeners and viewers are going to dig that. I mean, why not? You're investing. I mean, what you said totally makes sense. All right. So give me a couple little tidbits as far as marketing in any respect, because you've already kind of convinced me with respect to, not walking over a dollar, hang out with the dollar that's right there. Give me another tidbit that would add some value to, a small business owner making whatever, $500,000 a year. They're trying to take it to the next level.
Man, one of the easiest things they could do is just put together a simple offer for, send it out by email. Just a simple offer. Like, if anybody that's listening to this can think about a way to productize whatever their service is. Like, what can you, like, it could be a low dollar offer, right? To get somebody to take some sort of action. It could be a free offer, something to get people involved and to spend some time with you. Because, the one thing that I've learned out of all my years in business is that nobody will ever first give you their money before they give you their time. And so if you can't get them to spend time with you, you cannot build rapport, you cannot build trust. And so the money's not going to come. So something as simple as thinking about how you can do and I'll just tell you, like, I'm a big fan of webinars. I'm a big fan of getting on consult calls. I'm a big fan of, doing audit type of stuff, because you can deliver value. And once you deliver value, whether they pay for it or not, you have now you've deposited and put something in their bucket. And when you put something in their bucket, it's only natural. It's kind of like, the law of reciprocation, where I always think about, like, when I go to Costco on a Saturday and I'm seeing all these sample people, right? And they're just kind of out and they've got all this, like, good smelling food that they want you to sample. Every time I start to approach that little kiosk, I have that feeling of, man, I know if I take one of these, I'm going to be standing there going, okay, now I got to buy one.
Exactly. I'm there with you. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So it's very powerful, though, Kenner. And I think a lot of people just don't think along those lines. But if they did, just simple things like that, where you can give somebody a sampling of what you do, help them to get a result or answer a question or be very insightful. Those types of things are very meaningful, and they're going to open your emails a lot more. They're going to buy from you a lot more. and your lifetime value of a client is just going to go way up.
Yeah. What we're doing in that regard is I don't want this to be a case study for you, but what we're doing is we're starting a community because we are merging with that law firm that I mentioned. We're starting a free community where you can get kind of a touch, added value, no doubt, but kind of a touch as to what we are like. And then at the same time, we're also having a paid community, only $29 a month, that it's going to be filled with a little bit more value so people could, really get to know us on a monthly basis. They're going to go to it's called the Vast Vault. They're going to go into, meetings with me and, Bob, who's a very well-known attorney. He's going to be talking about estate planning and asset protection, whereas we're talking about tax and finance on our side, and also commercial property finance. And at the same time, if someone wants to do a consultation out of it, well, they can. Obviously, they're going to have to pay for it, but that's basically exactly what you're saying. But what would you say? So are you into communities, by the way?
Yeah, I think communities are a fantastic way to build, credibility and trust.
All right. So what would you say? How can we, and it's just coming out. We're rolling it out next week, actually. It's out, but it's going to be in beta for a while. But what would you say is an important part of community building?
I think one of the best things you could do is get people engaged, right? Because a lot of people are part of communities, but they never engage. So doing things to kind of force people to engage in that community, to share, to participate. The more you do that, the more revenue is going to come from that community. You will have some people that are the outliers, that they never will engage, they'll never participate, but they're still buyers. But you want to do the best job that you can to try to get them engaged. So doing even like little ethical bribes to get people to share, to participate, and kind of get them off the fence. They work well, and it's for their own good. I mean, if they're in a group like you're suggesting, the advice that you're giving them and what they have access to it's something it's vital for a lot of folks. I mean, tax. You think about so many. I've worked with a lot of accountants in the past, and not all accountants are created equal, right? We know that.
Yeah,
So
totally. Trust me.
There's ones that understand like strategy and advisory and all that kind of stuff, and then there's ones that only understand compliance. But the stuff that you're delivering to people is so that they can really improve their wealth or their tax savings, or to set them up for a lot better future versus, hey, we just did your tax return.
Right. 100%. You're exactly right.
So it's very valuable. So, as you're going and putting content in this community, things that are, just little bits and pieces of insight that you have, and you could post in that group or deliver that group, they're just going to serve you so well, to where people are going to go, at some point, whenever the timing's right, they're just going to say, look, I just need, how can Kenner help me? Right? How can they help me do this? Because it's the only sensible and logical choice when they've been following you and you're hitting all the buttons along the way.
Yeah. That goes to your point about, one, engagement, you're right, but also giving them something kind of, well, you didn't say free, but I'm sure you probably meant free in there as well. Give them something they can learn about us, and that'll hopefully, just like you're saying, increase engagement. They'll end up wanting to do business with us because they'll know, like, and trust us, et cetera, et cetera.
Well,
all right. So what about, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's like, we do a lot of work on LinkedIn for folks, too. There's another, some folks, we do some done for you LinkedIn stuff, and I'll do webinars about LinkedIn, and I'll share so much of the strategy, and people always ask, like, why do you give so much away? I'm like, because most of the time nobody's going to implement that on their own.
100%.
So, it's like, aren't you afraid somebody else is going to take it? I'm like, no, I'm not. I mean, I have so many emails where people are like, thank you so much for that. I implemented what you said, and it worked. I got my largest client, blah, blah, blah. They may never become a client, and I'm okay with that, because I delivered value to them in their lives. And you know what they're going to do next time they think of somebody that could be good for me? They send them to me.
Yeah.
So, it's just, I operate from from a place of servitude, and it's something that's just served me well, for a lot of years now. And I think that's something that was kind of ingrained in me as I was growing up. My grandparents raised me, and my grandparents that's exactly how they were. And I was lucky enough to learn that kind of stuff. And it just, I use it today. It's just part of who I am.
And obviously it's done well. You've done well for yourself. You're a guru, even though you say you're not a guru. So, all right, we only have a few minutes left, but what's one thing that has not worked for a client that you think, you would give some exact opposite consultation? Whatever the case is, I'm just looking for something a little different as far as, some consultation that's worked out that you've provided.
So something that has not worked?
Yep. That has not worked. Yep.
So something that we have advised on has not worked?
Sure. Either way, or something they're doing, either one. Yeah.
I mean, we don't always hit it out of the park. It's like we always test things, and sometimes, and this is a good point for everybody that's listening to this, is that a lot of people, they like to sit in the corner and make assumptions. They're like either thinking, oh, I don't know if I should do that. It won't work for my audience. I don't know if it'll work for my audience. And they end up like doing nothing, right? So they make these assumptions. We will go in and we will test. So we might make an educated guess and go in and deploy something, and it may not work out the way that we want it to, but it's not a failure, because what we do is we take that feedback, so real market feedback, not just kind of making an assumption about the market. We will deploy a test and we will see how the market reacts, and then we will make adjustments based off of that. So if you don't operate like that, then either A, you're leaving money on the table, but B, you're making assumptions that may or may not be true. You don't know, even if you think you don't know, because the market always changes. You got to let the market give you the feedback and then respond to that market. So we have plenty of times where we don't, the first go, we don't hit it out of the park. But we figure out what it is, and then we put our next best foot forward, and we come back and we do something a little bit different based on that market.
Yeah, I totally hear it. It seems like marketing is just another word for testing, because you guys are always testing. This thing worked, but maybe we can make it better, or this thing didn't work, maybe we can make it better, whatever the case is. And I think that's a pretty good analogy. Testing equals marketing, and vice versa.
Absolutely, you just have to. I mean, it's never a set it and forget it. It's just things change too much, and they change a lot faster now these days. So,
yeah. Like that.
Right. But again, the one thing that doesn't change is the foundational principles, which is, building relationships, right? Treating your audience well, whether or not they buy from you, serve them. And the ones that are right for you, they're going to rise to the top if you're doing the right things.
And they're going to go and they're going to be your megaphone. They're going to go out and tell people about how good you are. And referrals is probably better than any other way of bringing in business, because if someone comes in based on referral, they know that you're as good as you say you are.
Oh, 100%. And it's just like I'm thinking about this week. We had a couple, one of the guys we were helping get out of spam. All of a sudden now there's 4 other people that he's connected us to that are, they've got spam issues, and we're going in and taking a look at their stuff. Yeah, you're right. It's just like, it's how you treat people. Like you treat them well, you're cool to them, then they're going to be some of your biggest advocates.
Yeah. Dude, you and I could go forever. I want to have you on again. Yeah, I think you know what's going on. You really do. It's funny you're downplaying yourself, because everything you've said, at least by my measure, seems to make a lot of sense and can really help some of our business owners, especially those who want to take it to the next level.
Yeah, I'd be happy to come back. I love doing this kind of thing, and just seeing how I can help people open their eyes a little bit more, right, and a little bit wider, and turn on the light bulb for some people that maybe just haven't thought of things in a different light. For sure.
Yeah. Again, how does someone get a hold of you?
Yeah, so just send me an email. And I answer all my emails. So it's Anthony@anthonysimoni.com. And that's just spelled Anthony. My last name actually spelled there if they're watching. Simone. Easy way to remember. I always tell people it's spelled like Simon with an IE at the end.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Well, man, Anthony, I'm so glad you're a good dude. I really appreciate you taking the time. And then for all those people out there, please give them a call, please give them an email. And if you want to help us in any way, or you need any information from us, or you want us to change things, have some suggestions, go ahead and email us at info@vastsolutionsgroup.com. info@vastsolutionsgroup.com. This is Kenner French. I'm at vastsolutionsgroup.com, or Kenner at vastsolutionsgroup.com. And of course, you've been spending time watching, listening to the Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. Thanks, everybody.